I've been hearing a lot about a new Michael Jackson album coming out next week. I've read reviews on it, seen it on the news, heard the new song from it, Breaking News, which I thought was just atrocious. I mean, don't buy this album. That's what I say. If you're a Michael Jackson fan, do not buy this album. He would not want you to buy this album. This is simply a cash-in from Sony. Michael released all his best material when he was alive. There is no hidden gems. I know that. I just know if he had any real hidden gems, he would have released them in his lifetime. Simple as that. The man was a perfectionist. That's why his albums are some of the best albums ever released. He didn't release that many solo albums in his lifetime, if you think about it. As an adult, you've only got Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, History, Invincible. All good albums. Well, no, amazing albums. Last album, not so good, Invincible, but it was still had some good tracks. But say probably his best part was Up to History. But when you look back on that material, play his albums back, the standard is unbelievable. His quality of his music is so outstanding. And I know for a fact he would not want this rubbish released. This is rough demos, stuff that he didn't want the public to hear. It was just trying out new ideas. Michael lost a plot in lots of ways. He lost a plot with money, he lost a plot with his phase, he lost a plot with lots of things. But he never lost a plot with his music. You would find it very hard to criticise an album of his that he released in his lifetime because, as I said, they were all so good. And what I respect about Michael Jackson more than most artists is he was never up his own arse. I mean, you look at Prince, he releases an album every year. I don't know if he still does, I think he probably still does, which is ridiculous. There's, no matter how good you are, you don't release an album every year. It won't be of the good standard that it should be. That's why Prince has never done, in my opinion, a good album, well, as good as album as Purple Rain, which is an amazing, obviously, album. The other one that comes to mind is Diamonds and Pearls. I know a lot of people like Sign of the Times, which is good, but not really my favourite album, as I said, of his would be Purple Rain. He was good for singles, like he did a lot of hit singles, Prince, but album-wise I thought he was kind of rubbish, to be honest. I know he's like a genius and he's one of the best artists of all time, and he's certainly one of my heroes, but I just wish that he didn't have all yes men surrounding him all the time and telling him to release his crap that he does every year. It's just really boring and it's just rubbish. I mean, if you listen to a whole lot of Prince's albums in the 80s, it's quite hard to go through the whole lot without being very bored. That's why Purple Rain is still his best-selling album, because you don't get bored of Purple Rain. You can listen to it even after all these years. I still listen to it and I'm still blown away by how brilliant it is. Anyway, this wasn't about Prince's, but to Michael Jackson, so let's get back to Michael. So as I say, don't buy this album, because Michael wouldn't want you to buy this album. It's no use to be out there. I mean, it was like with This Is It, when that got released, when was it, last year? It's bollocks. I mean, I knew the movie would be shit, and it was. Who wants to watch Michael Jackson at 6 stone trying to dance, looking horrendous? That's not how I want to remember Michael Jackson. He simply did that for the money. The stress of that alone is what killed him. That's why he had that arsehole doctor putting him asleep at night, because he couldn't sleep with the stress of doing his terrible tour. I mean, how he passed that health insurance, I really would like to know, because I said when I knew that he was going to do the O2 that he would never be able to perform, because I know he was not a healthy man. He looked pretty fucking awful, and it's very, very sad to see him in that state. That's a man that has lost the plot without doubt, cannot go on anymore, and they just milked him dry. But Michael's been used to be milked dry. I mean, his father was doing it for years. His family have been milking him dry, and I feel so sorry that he had to grow up in that kind of environment with those horrible people, because all he ever wanted really was love and understanding, and he even never got that. I mean, when you think of his brothers, they're an embarrassment, because they have no talent. They're crap. I mean, they weren't good dancers, they weren't good singers in my opinion. I think they were just shit. Janet's the only one out of Jackson family that he said, yeah, You know, she's good, there's no doubt about it. She's not up there as Michael, but she's definitely out there because she's a really good artist. But she worked very hard to get what she did. Not saying Michael didn't, but he had a natural talent. It was a gift. It was a genius that, you know, God-given genius that very few is ever blessed with. You know, like Elvis and so forth. But, you know, all this rubbish about him bleaching his skin, wanting to be white, you know, I don't think he wanted to be white. I think he just wanted to get away from that family. And, you know, the best way to get away from that family, you know, not to think of them or to be associated with them is not to look like them. And obviously if your family's black, then you're going to turn white. If his family was white, he'd probably turn black. So that's probably why he did a lot of the things he did. I know being black was a very hard thing for him to cope with, not because he was ashamed to be black, but because, let's not forget, this is going back in like the early 80s and stuff, where black eyes didn't sell the amount of records that white eyes did, simply because obviously the promotion wasn't there. They said blacks don't sell as much as whites, which obviously isn't true, but, you know, like, I think Don King said to him that a black man can never be the king. Elvis will always be the king because he was white, and like whites will never accept you because you're a black man. So I think all that kind of played on his mind when they did the Victory tour and stuff. So he probably thought, you know, well, if that's the case, then I'll just turn white. Well, not necessarily, you know, want to be white, but I can, you know, lighten my skin if it makes it more accessible for MTV or whatever. And, you know, a lot of people said he should never have had plastic surgery. I disagree. I think he was right to have plastic surgery up to a point. I mean, he did have a very, very big nose, very flat nose, and it must, you know, it was really bad. And his father and his arsehole brothers, you know, took the mick out of this nose of his. So he was right to get that done. I think after about the second nose job, he should have stopped, because when you see him in Thriller, even late Off the Wall, but definitely in Thriller, you say, yeah, you know, he's a good-looking black man, no doubt about it. I mean, when you think of, like, not just black man, white man as well, but if you think of Usher, Justin Timberlake, whatever his name is, what's that other, Neo, whatever, you know, none of them are good-looking in my eyes, you know, as a straight heterosexual, I don't see, but I know, like, women may like them, but to me they're kind of ugly. So, you know, I don't know why Michael was so paranoid about his look. Well, actually, I do know why, because of his father, and, you know, having that abuse for years, you're gonna think you're fucking ugly. You know, he just unfortunately had very bad acne as a teenager, and that certainly affected his self-esteem, because when you see him as a kid, he was kind of, you know, maybe a little cocky, upbeat and stuff, and it was nice to see him like that. But, you know, when he started growing, got the acne, you know, he should have been high, but he's very skinny, and he wasn't the cute little kid anymore, and, you know, people found that hard to deal with, and he found that hard to deal with. So he definitely made himself very good looking in the early 80s. You know, without a doubt, he looked great. But he, you know, he had the complete package then, you know, the talent, the moves, the dance moves, the videos, songwriting, and I mean, he had everything when you think about it. But of course, you know, unfortunately in life, there's always something missing, and in his case, it was definitely love. You know, if you grow up in a screwed, fucked up family like that, you know, of course it's going to affect you, you know. So people say, oh, he was crazy, or he was wacko, and all this shit. Well, you know, if you grew up with an arsehole father like that telling you that you're fucking ugly, you know, with brothers having sex in the same room as you when you're like 10, you know, with no respect for your little brother, that's disgusting. No wonder he was wary of sex later on. I don't blame him. If I had those same experiences, I would have been the same, completely the same. Do I think he's gay? Because this is always debatable. Was Michael Jackson gay? You know, when I think about it, I think he probably was gay, but I still love him. I don't care if he's gay, straight, but I personally think he was gay, because he did become very feminine later on. You know, some people thought he was trying to turn into a white woman. I wouldn't go as far as that, but he certainly became more camp. So, yeah, I think he probably was gay, and that must have been very hard to deal with, being Jehovah's Witness, being a black man. being a superstar. All those ingredients is, I guess, were very difficult with homosexuality involved. Or then again, it's obviously difficult if you're white too. Obviously, his family would never accepted him being gay. Without doubt, they never would have. So, you just feel so sorry for him when you think about it. I really do. What else was I going to say? Oh, his kids. Yeah, I don't think his kids are his. Definitely not. They don't look mixed race at all. They look completely Caucasian to me, or maybe slightly foreign. But no, they were his kids. They would definitely looked proper mixed race. So that's just rubbish. But if it made him happy, I don't disrespect him for it. But anyway, thanks for watching, and if you want to get into Michael Jackson mood again, just play his old songs. Plays. Actually, there is something that's been released that is quite good, actually, which is Michael Jackson's Visions, which I bought. When did I buy it? Last week. That's quite good. Actually, it's very good. It's all his old videos kind of remastered. Some of them not remastered that well though. The Way You Make Me Feel, it's got a lot of groaning. That's one of my favourite videos. But all the others are pretty good. Bad looks amazing actually. Bad really comes really vibrant. So vibrant colours. Do get that if you want to see all his videos and stuff, because that's how we want to remember him. Not this is it. That's not how to remember Michael Jackson. That's a skeleton figure. That's a man that is only pumping on tablets. Not on life itself. Just tablets constantly. I think he made a remark in the Moonwalker book where he said, he would never end up like Elvis, but unfortunately he did go the same way. It's like Elvis. I mean, when you compare the two, it's quite odd, because Elvis, I got like why he was so lonely, because he was an only child. So of course, you're an only child, you get to that fame, superstar, legend status. A lot of people will abuse you. You mistrust everybody. They take the con you and everything, and you feel very alone. But with Michael Jackson, he had all these brothers and sisters, and they were shit. He was more alone than any only child, because they never got him. They never understood him. He was just a meal ticket, and it makes me so mad that Joe Jackson is still alive. I mean, I don't wish death on most people, but on Joe Jackson, I truly wish death on, because I think he's a motherfucker. Scum, just scum. Beating up your child, beating up them all. But he used to lock Michael in a closet when he was like a kid. When I used to go to Vegas, so he could go and offer the prostitutes and stuff for hours on end. Beat him up, black and blue. It was just fucking awful, And how he's still alive does make me question God sometimes, because there's a God. Joe Jackson should be dead. He should not be on this earth. But anyway, I don't want to get all depressing about it. Remember the legend, remember the man. There will never be another Michael Jackson. And I'm glad that he was in my lifetime. I got to see him perform live, which was one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen. And I got to, hear all his material when it did come out first time. I just love the guy. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.